Welcome to the Woman Worriers podcast, where we're working to help you call a truce with your anxiety. The information in this podcast is not a substitute for seeking help from a licensed mental health professional. Now, here's your host, Elizabeth Cush, LCPC.
Welcome back to the Woman Worriers podcast. I'm Elizabeth Cush, your host, and I am excited about this week's podcast. Maybe excited is the wrong word. As you can tell, my voice is a little scratchy right now. I am struggling with some allergies and high humidity here in Maryland. It's impacting, I guess, my sinuses, and just, I feel fine, but don't sound like myself. At least I don't think I do. So I'm a little self-conscious about that, but I am, I'm looking forward to sharing a little bit more of my story in this episode. So stay tuned and we will get to that in a moment. But first, I'd like to read a few of the reviews. I've gotten some reviews lately for the podcast that just means so much to me, and it felt important to share them with you guys. And if you write a review, maybe I will read yours on the podcast. This review, it's titled "Wonderful and So Helpful." This is such a wonderful podcast. I love Elizabeth's warm, sensitive way of sharing herself and her wisdom here. Listening to her journey is very powerful as a therapist. She brings herself to each episode, and I can so relate to that. Plus, there are so many great topics. I'm definitely recommending her to my clients. So that's awesome. That is amazing. I love that. And thank you. Here's another one. It's called Such Needed Info. I so appreciate the support for women who worry. Such great information and a deep dive into all the reasons we worry. I'm looking forward to listening to future episodes. It really means a lot to me to read your reviews and hear your feedback about the podcast. So thank you, listeners, who have taken the time to do that on Apple Podcasts. I also just want to say thank you so much for continuing to tune in. My download numbers were the biggest ever last month, with over 2,000 downloads for the podcast in the month of May. And I know some podcasters are seeing a downtick in their numbers for whatever reason, whether it's the pandemic or I don't know. I just want to say to all you subscribers, listeners, followers on social media, thank you for making the podcast successful. I love doing it, and I love knowing that it means something to all of you. So this episode, I would like to talk about fear. Fear is so often the root of our anxiety, whether it's past fears that have been embedded in our bodies because of our past traumas, or our day-to-day fears that show up around even small, what might seem like insignificant events in our lives, and how fear can keep us quiet. It can keep us silent. It can keep us from sharing our voices. And to me, it's so important for us to share our voices now, to make ourselves heard, and us as women, because we matter. Our voices matter. Our needs matter. And this has definitely been a struggle for me, but as I said, fear has been something that's really been a part of my life for a long, long time. And some of that has to do with my trauma history, which I have shared in other episodes. Some of it has to do with the fact that as a family, my family of origin, we were not really very good at talking about, exploring, normalizing our feelings. And so when you don't learn that feelings are okay, that feelings are just that, feelings that sometimes they can be scary and sometimes it can feel like a lot to have to share what's going on for you, and it gets bottled up and it can keep you quiet about what you need, what's going on for you, and can make you feel really anxious. I have an early memory of fear in my life where, as a kid, like today, kids are invited to sleepovers often. I can remember going to friends' houses and then being terrified in the middle of the night, or what felt like the middle of the night after lights were out, that I can remember waking up friends' parents and needing to go home. And I would always say that it was a stomach ache and that I was sick and that I needed to go home. One particular memory sticks out for me. For whatever reason, we were at a friend's house, so it was my parents' friends as well as my friend, and the plan was the parents were gathering, and me and my friend and another friend were going to sleep over after the parents left. And we were in my friend's room, and I could hear the parents laughing and talking downstairs, and my two friends eventually fell asleep, and I was awake. And I got scared. I got scared that my mom was going to leave and that I would be left there alone with my two friends, but the idea of being separated from my mom in that moment just felt terrifying. And so I crept out of bed, and I was afraid to go down the stairs to tell my mom that I didn't want to stay. And so I sat on the step waiting. I was in my nightgown. It was cold. And the carpet was scratchy. And my feet were cold. And I can remember seeing the light downstairs upstairs where we were was dark. So I was sort of half in the dark, half in the light, and just willing the grown-ups to finish up their evening and hoping I would have the courage to call out to my mom to tell her that I wanted to go home. And also just being so tired and so afraid that I was going to fall asleep and then wake up and she'd be gone. And throughout my life, my fears have stopped me from doing things that I might have enjoyed, kept me from venturing to places and traveling to new places, kept me from going to social events because of fear of what it would be like or how I would be, fear that I'd be overwhelmed and scared. And the coronavirus, as well as all the civil unrest and feeling like our world is changing in ways that I'm not sure how how it will all be resolved, those old fears have really shown up for me. And I've noticed that when the stay-at-home orders were in place and pretty firm about what it was we were expected to do to be safe, it felt easier. I knew that it was better not to see my friends. I knew that it was better not to have my family come visit. I knew it wasn't safe to go to the store without a mask on. And now, as those restrictions are lifting, some of my fear is back again because it felt almost safer to know that home was safe and out there was not. And now I'm being told that out there is safe, and yet, is it really? I don't know. The virus is still out there. I've also realized as I've grown and as I approach the age of 60, which is crazy that it's taken a lifetime of learning and knowing, but I've realized that by speaking up, using my voice, identifying my feelings, being able to voice my feelings helps ease my fear, helps make me feel safe inside. So that even if whatever it is that's out there is scary, inside I feel safer. And it's important for me to know that I can use my voice to speak up, even if I'm afraid. And back to that little girl crouched on the stairs, waiting for her mom, hoping she wouldn't fall asleep and be left behind. She did go home that night, and being in the car ride home, her mom said something about, maybe you'll be disappointed that you didn't spend the night and wake up with your friends tomorrow. But I knew that I would be okay with that. I knew that for me in those moments, it felt better to go home. Because in those moments, I felt very connected to my mom. I felt very safe and secure that she was there. And even though I couldn't say I was afraid to be away from her, I was able to say I just needed to go home. And today, I know the fear is there. I know that it will show up and in its way wants to keep me safe. And I can recognize that the anxious feeling in my chest and my gut, the tightness that shows up when I'm feeling anxious, that if I tune in and sit with them, breathe into them, allow that energy to release, that I can take care of me when I'm anxious and afraid. And I want to be able to speak up for social injustice and racist comments. And when I see racism, I want to be able to feel safe in my world, even with the coronavirus out there. I want to know that I can keep myself safe with the measures that I take. So tapping into that fear, recognizing when it shows up, knowing that if I tune in, allow it to be there, that I can be with it, and that's okay. And I can move through it to a place where I can keep myself safe. And that has helped me find my voice, helped me express what I need to in those moments. I have a meditation that helps you be with difficult emotions like fear and helps you sit through them to a place where maybe they feel a little less uncomfortable. If you would like that meditation, I will email it to you for free. You just have to send me an email saying that you want that free meditation to help you with your sit with your fear, difficult feelings, and anxiety. So you can reach out to me through my website, womanwarriors.com or progressioncounseling.com. Click on the Contact Me button and shoot me an email. Say, I want that meditation, and I will send it to you for free. So today, I hope you took away that anxiety can be your early warning system as you learn to tune into yourself before the anxiety takes over, before the anxiety reaches a point that you just need to shut down, avoid. As you notice anxiety beginning to bubble up, it can be your signal to tune into your fears, tune into what's happening for you in that moment. And you can rationalize all you want. The fear is irrational. I shouldn't be feeling this way. But when your body and your brain jump to that place of fear, it's not about reasoning through it. It's about reminding your body and your brain that there are alternatives, that you can be with the fear, you can calm the fear inside. And that builds resilience, that builds those new neural pathways to help you better manage the anxiety and fear in the moment. And that is what I want for you. I hope that this week you will pay attention to your anxiety, your fear, and tune in with compassion and caring and love. Ciao for now from this woman warrior.
Thanks for listening and subscribing to the Woman Warriors podcast. Music was written and performed by Andy Cush. If you'd like more information on this episode, you can find the show notes, the resources shared today, and links to the guests' profiles at womanwarriors.com.